Hello everyone and welcome to the latest edition of This Racing Life. And while Lambourn is traditionally known as a jumping town, try telling that to the flat trainers who we visited this week. All of them have big respective early season targets to go for, as you will see over the course of the next half hour. Here's what's coming up.
To start with, just to survive was the be all and end all. And thankfully things have gone well enough that we've been able to do that, and so we've had 11 Group 1 winners here now and 9 Royal Ascot winners, but I'm as hungry as ever to keep doing that, and that feels good. And
Jabber loves his horses, he really does, and he understands horses, but for him to say maybe she just had an off day, Richard, that was really nice to hear now from someone that invests so much money in the game and that actually understands the game really well as well.
Be able to ride him at Chelmsford and to do it in the fashion he did, he gave me such a good feel that day when I was sort of coming inside the 3-pole and I looked to my left and seen Ryan coming off it. I couldn't believe how well I was going, and I thought if this horse quickens, he's a proper horse, and he did, and he quickened well. So, and I know he's going to be better on the grass.
Here we are, another 12 months on, and trying to get him back on track again. So he's cantering away and he's swimming every other day, and yeah, so fingers crossed. But he's obviously being off the track for so long, we're not pushing him, we're just letting him get there in his own time.
Clive Cox has been an ever-present face around these parts since he set up shop around the town in the early parts of the millennium. Well, success came thick and fast, and season on season he's put up really impressive financial numbers, not least last season through this lad, Dragon Leader, who won Harry's $500,000, the big sales race up at York, placed in another, and then took the 2-year-old trophy at the end of the campaign. He's just one of many horses looking to add to it this season.
he started the year off really well, and winning twice at Salisbury, and the Doncaster auction race was always on the cards. And I think with the median races as well, with the Redcar Gold Trophy and the Weatherby's Hamilton race at Doncaster, he fitted those qualifications so well, and luckily he to be honest with you, he surprised me. He won first time, because we'd had a little bit of a tricky time with him in the stalls, and everything came together, and he won impressively first time, and built on that, and he was an absolute star as the season progressed, and he was the second highest earning 2-year-old, which is phenomenal really, yeah, just goes to show the way it is, and if they are well qualified, I'm thrilled to bits. I was especially thrilled as well, not only for the owners, Kennet Valley, but also to win Harry Beebe's race. He was a very good friend, and it means a whole lot to have got that race.
And while there's strength and depth for the 2 now 3-year-olds, the older horses have already been showing it. Diligent Harry, first and foremostly, what a cracker in the Alcoas he ran.
Well, no, he's done phenomenally well, prize money wise as well, because he won 118,000 sterling for being third in the Alcoas, which was amazing, on the back of already winning 2 listed races this year as well. So very proud, and his owners are the syndicate that we have, the delinquents, and most of them have been with us over 20 years, you know. So it was very rewarding and satisfying to see them all so happy out in Dubai.
Well, this now opens up bigger and better options for him as well. Duke of York next?
Yeah, I'd say that's very likely. Obviously you've seen him this morning, and we've not set any targets until we were absolutely positive he'd come back, and I would very much like to go to Ascot in the King's Stand. I think a stiff 5 there is very attractive. He was last off the bridle in Dubai, you know. So yeah, very much hope that works well. But if the ground's right and not too slow at York with the weather we've been having, and continue to get a little bit of rain every other day, we'll have those options available. But you know, he would only go to York if the ground is nice.
You said something really nice earlier when we were watching work, and I was asking you about various plans and travelling horses. You said we're in this to make memories, and make memories you will if you travel.
Well, that's true, and I think all of them, it's just it's very rewarding when you can look back and talk about those good horses, and making those memories is what we're chasing, aren't we, really?
What might be the plan for Jassur for this season? Things started really promisingly.
Sure.
They tailed off a little at the end.
Yeah, I think the July Stakes was very affirming in, that ability to win a Group 2 like he did that day. Things just didn't go right, and he got too keen. Horses split. He was drawn in the middle in Deauville in the Mornay. And just became very challenging, I think, mentally. We've worked really hard on him, and I hope he's going to be more settled this year and continue to, get back on track from where he was from the July Stakes. And I think he's definitely got the ability.
What's his ideal, do you reckon, ground-wise?
Oh, quicker,
good fast ground?
Quicker rather than slower. Yeah, definitely. I think he's got an abundance of speed, and as he showed that day at Newmarket, it was very dry ground, and that would be ideal.
In your 24th year of being here, if you could have gone back to the year 2000 and put your arm around Clive Cox then and said, do this or don't do this, what might you have said? Don't
worry. I think it's been at that stage, I think when you're starting off, that fear of failure and the effort and everything else, that drives you on. To start with, just to survive was the be-all and end-all. And thankfully things have gone well enough that we've been able to do that. And so we've had 11 Group 1 winners here now and 9 Royal Ascot winners. But I'm as hungry as ever to keep doing that, and that feels good. And having a horse like Ghostwriter going forwards to the Guineas is really special, and it really is a dream.
And just a stone's throw away, we visit a man who rode 5 winners for Clive Cox as a jockey. It was a storied career in the saddle for Richard Hughes. How's he been getting on as a trainer in a better part of a decade with a licence? Well, it's fair to say quantity has always been there, 50 to 60 winners routinely throughout the course of a 10-year period. But this year, he may well be able to match it with some quality as well.
What I done last year, a few horses got handicapped, and I think we were on about 50 winner mark. And I said, do I win a nursery in December or do I pack them up? So I packed a few of them up, and they came and duly won off their handicap marks as 3-year-olds, and they'd got stronger. So I think that was a big part to play in it.
Listed success with Kim and Grace in the Hever Sprint, Calling the Wind winning the Northumberland Plate. It must have been fantastic to finally get big race winners.
Yeah, it was, and Calling the Wind's been a great servant to the yard. He placed the Royal Ascot 3 times, and then he won at Goodwood. So he deserved his day in the sun. Running him up there, I thought he'll be placed as usual, probably find 1 too good, and Neil gave him a great ride in the day, and he won. It was fabulous for the yard.
Has there been a concerted effort to change your sales strategy over the last few years?
Not really. In the early years I had some agents who really helped me a lot, and the last few years I just found that myself and Fanny, Lizzie's sister, we go around the sales together, and I find the day I buy them is the day I have in mind is how am I going to sell them. So, and I think we've got some just quite good results from that.
Well, this is the horse, Richard, I was looking forward to seeing most, to be honest, especially after a runaway win at Chelmsford. This is Bracken's Laugh.
Yeah, I've just held him in high regard from day one. We bought him at the Breeze Ups. He cost 200 grand, plenty of money now. But it was the Guineas sale, and the Guineas sale has an excellent record. If you buy the top 5 lots, you're guaranteed 2 good ones. And he done one of the fastest times for a big horse. He shouldn't have been able to do that. He nearly looked like a store horse walking around the ring. And we gave him a month off when he came back. We threw him out in the field and done him the world of good. And then I trained him for the Haynes, Hanson and Clark.
Which is a big thing for a horse to go to on debut.
Yeah, it's always a history of the races. A lot of good horses win it. And I remember Sean was a little bit apprehensive about me running him that day, and I said, Sean, I want to find out how good he is. Simple as that. And he let me run him, and he didn't let me down. In
theory, he could have run earlier, but it was a plan to go to the Hayes, Hanson and Clark, was it?
I felt he was... Cormac Farrell done a great job in getting him to the Breeze Up, but he needed a break after that. He done his job to make his money, and then it was my job then to build the horse up and get him ready to run. So there was no point having him ready for July. He was only ever going to get 2 runs into him anyway. Mm. So the fact that he won the Haynes, Hanson and Clark stuck my chest out a little bit, and I took a chance in the 1.25 mile race in St. Cloud. I think I've had 2 Group 1 runners. So in order for me to run in the Group 1, I got to think a lot of them. And on the day, he probably just didn't stay a mile and a quarter on heavy ground. It was a grueling race, and he ended up on the wrong side of the track. But I thought he ran a good race on the day.
But his profile was one that was always going to be of a colt that was going to be better with a winter under his back and time on his side. And didn't he just show it at Chelmsford?
Yeah, he was 460 kilos running in Newbury in France last year, and he went to Chelmsford 500 kilos this year. Like, this horse has really done well. Deep down, I'd have been disappointed if he didn't win, but when he won the way he did, it was an extra bonus.
Did you think he was disrespected in the market? It's 9 to 1.
A little, well, when Aidan O'Brien runs a horse rate 108, you have to respect him, you know.
Fair point.
But he didn't. I just thought it might happen a bit quicker around there for him. But after going 100 yards and I seen him travelling in a nice position, I said, this is lovely. But he nearly won over 7 that day. He won so easy.
I was always looking forward to Bracken's Laugh, hopefully getting back on him, because unfortunately I didn't get to ride him in France after he won the Haynes Hansen and Clark. But I was over the moon to be able to ride him at Chelmsford, and to do it in the fashion he did. He gave me such a good feel that day when I was sort of coming inside the 3 pole, and I looked to my left and seen Ryan coming off it. I couldn't believe how well I was going, and I thought, if this horse quickens, he's a proper horse, and he did, and he quickened well. So, and I know he's going to be better on the grass. After his run in France, we gave him the winter off, and riding him back was an absolute nightmare. He was so fresh, and it was just a lot of patience trying to keep him sane while he was coming back into work, because you can't do too much too soon, and you've got to keep him right in the head. But now he thrives off exercise. After his win at Chelmsford, we gave him a good 3 or 4 days off. That was all, maybe even just 2 or 3 days, and rode him back there a few days ago, and he was out of his skin. So it's just a task trying to keep him sane. But now he's back exercising, he's good as gold. He just loves his work.
It strikes me as though, while they're very different lives, being a top-class jockey and a top-class trainer, you need the same solid base of mentality to do it. There's going to be a lot of low moments, there's going to be some very high moments. You need to have a strong mentality to do these.
You need a neck of a rhino, you really do. This in training more so than riding. When you're riding horses, well, when at the level I was at, if you had a bad day, you had 4 good rides the next day, you're going to get over it quick. But when things don't go wrong, you need huge belief in yourself. And I felt I had that when I was riding. Especially the way I rode some horses, being held up and dropping them there in the line. If it went wrong, I was there to be shot at. And I didn't really mind what people thought when I got it wrong. I felt I was doing the right thing. And a little bit training the same. I've made plenty of mistakes along the way training horses, but in sport you only learn from your mistakes. You don't learn much from winning. And I feel I'm definitely a better trainer now than I was. I was a better jockey when I was 40 than I was when I was 20. So we've got a good base built up, and we have a nice system in place now to go forward. So we feel like we're doing the little things right.
Well, what would you have changed when you started out? Well, if you could go back and tell Richard Hughes then one piece of advice, what would that be?
For any young trainer starting off, and I didn't do it, was to buy a load of older horses. Older horses, they're ready-made and they're going to win races if you place them well. I went and bought 25 yearlings, and so out of 25, half of them ain't going to be winning it too, and you just don't hit the ground running.
So Richard, here we have Star Music, who is fresh off the back of a disappointment in the Fred Darling. I think you're firmly of the opinion, as most of us are, that that's not her true running.
Yeah, she let me, well, she didn't let me down, but I was so confident going into that race. Her work was really good at home, better than last year's work. I only had to improve 3 lengths on her Oh So Sharp run to be really competitive. And for some unknown reason, she ran a stinker. I don't know why. We scoped her after the race, she was perfect. And it's just one of those things, now and again, you're just going to have to put a line through it. Maybe she had a headache on the day, we don't know. We've had some tests done so far and we haven't found anything. So if we still come up at nothing, I'm going to let her take her chance in the Guineas. Sure, we've nothing to lose at this stage. but I know she's a good filly, and you don't become bad in 24 hours.
Well, now, everything prior to that would suggest that she could be potentially very high class.
Well, we believe so. She's a beautiful filly. She went around the paddock, and I was even more confident watching her walk around the paddock. But the only thing I did notice when she came, she wasn't blowing much, so I knew she wasn't stressed. So something went amiss. I don't know why, but she did a blow par run in Newbury last year in a maiden. She finished third, I think, and I had another filly finish fourth. And there'd be a long way between them at home, and I couldn't believe on the day they finished beside each other. So that was definitely a below par effort, even though she was third, because the next day she went racing, she won 8 lengths 2 weeks later. So maybe it's Newbury, I don't know why, but if they could only tell you.
With a filly, I mean, in one sense, she's got black type as a 2-year-old. It's for some people it would be job done. Not when you have a filly though, when that you don't feel like you've got to the bottom of on the track.
Yeah, I rode Nahuda, I think it was, for McShannon, the Fred Darling, and she was beat 12 lengths. We couldn't believe it. And Mick stuck his neck on the line and said, we're running the Guineas, and I should have won the Guineas for Mick that day. Oh, I got locked up on the rail. She finished 5th, I think, and finished on the bridle, but that was her Guineas on the day, but I managed to get her beat.
It's very important when you have owners of fillies that you get black type for them so they keep coming back again. And Jabber Abdullah is an owner who has had plenty of horses with you over the years. It must be great to have a couple of decent ones for him.
Yeah, but great rapport with Jabber, and all thanks to Mick Shannon. In the early days, he got me riding his horses on Humes and the likes music show. But he's been a great supporter, Jabber, at the yard. And even after Newbury, he said, oh, this is horses. You know, it can happen. So to have that bit of support was really nice after the race, because I was dreading the phone call. I really was. But he was so nice about it. He said, you never know with horses, Richard. So hopefully it was just an off day.
It's no secret you have to be patient in the training game, and no one has been more patient than Roger Teal. He's had a long-awaited winter, dreaming of classic success with Dancing Gemini, but even longer he has had to wait for stable star Oxted to get back on the track. Well, that return might not be too far away.
Well, obviously his first injury, he did a tendon, and which was obviously 12 months out, and then we just got him back, and just a week short of, well, about 5 days short of York. He had a routine canter, stumbled badly just as he was pulling up on one of the canters and overreached, took the bulb of his heel, sort of nasty cut on that, which we thought that was going to be the worst of it, but then unfortunately we found a swelling a bit further down, and we had it scanned, and it proved to be another tear. So in a different place, but same leg, which was unfortunate. So yeah, here we are, another 12 months on, and trying to get him back on track again. So he's cantering away, and he's swimming every other day, and yeah, so fingers crossed. But he's obviously being off the track for so long, we're not pushing him, we're just letting him get there in his own time rather than us forcing him, you know.
It's an unfair question to ask, but also a nice one to have to answer. Which of his Group 1s was more enjoyable for you?
Well, obviously the July Cup was an amazing day and thing, but the King's Stand, because when he won the July Cup it was COVID, so there wasn't much atmosphere. But winning at Royal Ascot and the King's Stand and the way he did it was just fantastic, and yeah, it was just those days you can't buy.
You absolutely can't, and it's so good to see him still full of zest
Yeah,
as well.
no, he hasn't lost that.
Now, while he's been off the track, who would have thought his little brother, Chipstead, who was right next to him, I might add,
right next door.
would be able to fly the flag for the stable?
Yeah, absolutely. So
It's
here they
great
are.
to see the two interacting
Yeah,
with
it's
them.
just the two of them together. They're two peas in a pod, really. They're like squabbling little brothers.
Do they squabble?
Yeah, just how they tell each other off and then have a little peck at each other. But they've always done it, and it's just they interact very well with each other. So, but Chippy's been doing very well while Big Bro's been off, and like I say, he's done us proud over the winter, winning a couple, and so yeah, it's just been great to have him to keep us entertained over the winter.
Moving on to a very different type. Not a type you're completely unfamiliar with though, in that you've had a classic horse before in Tip to Win. You ran
Yeah.
an absolute screamer in the 2000 Guineas back in 2018. Dancing Gemini, well, he won the same race as
Yeah.
Tip to Win, the Flying Scotsman last season.
Yeah, no, he did, and you know, they're very, very similar, quite similar horses because they both got a good cruising gear, but have a great turn of foot as well. So they are very, very similar. Different. He's a little bit more about him than Tip. Tip was quite a small sort of little horse, just a heart of a lion. This fella's just got. He's not over big, but he's got, you know, a bit more substance about him. And he's a very good moving horse, which is the same as Tip was. So yeah, so fingers crossed we can go and do battle at Newmarket or wherever we go, and yeah, hopefully he'll do us proud.
Camelot out of an Australia mare, immediately you're thinking middle distances or intermediate distances. Is there a need to step him up and trip in sooner rather than later, given that pedigree, or is he going to tell you that?
No, he'll tell us. He's in the Derby, obviously. He's in the English and the French Derby, and in both Guineas. So depending on which one we end up at, yeah, he will probably, you know, like all Derby horses, they, you know, you can use your Guineas as a prep race, and if he finishes in the first 4 or 5, then it's all a good record for the Derby then. So yeah.
How did you come to get him?
Obviously, Mr. Fish. I trained for Mr. Fish. Mr. Fish had a third of Oxted, so that started our relationship, and then he just he gave me the opportunity of training this fella. So we've had a couple of horses for him before, and then we got this fella, and yeah, no, he's done us proud.
I mean, he was quite well touted before his debut. I mean, generally I expect, when I see yours in the race card, they're going to come on for their debut. He was sent off favourite.
Yeah, well, there was some drums beating around Lambourn. I think there was a few gallop watches and a few pub talk about him, and yeah, no, there was lots of chat about him in the way he'd been working and whatever. And he just was a bit green on his first day. He jumped out. He broke well out the gate, but they had a more experienced horse on his outside, which just sort of went across him, and he just sort of shocked him a little bit, and he ended up at the back. But he made up a hell of a lot of ground, and you know, he was the strongest finisher, and yeah. So nearly got it right, but yeah, I wasn't probably too popular in Lambourn that day, but no. So when he ran at Ascot against Rosalia at Ascot, he just had a bit of a growing spurt on us, and he'd just gone a little bit bum high, and in hindsight probably shouldn't have run him, but he'd been working so well that he sort of encouraged us. But then we sort of give him a chance, and then went to Newbury, and he won his maiden at Newbury, and in good style, and then obviously on to Donny for the Flying Scotsman. And yeah, you know, when you get a horse win a listed race by 4.5 lengths, that they've got something about them.
Well, what's your strategy these days? Do you have an archetypal Roger Teal horse you'd like to get, or is it just when opportunity presents?
I go a lot on my eye. Pedigree's handy, but it's not always on the page. I think yeah, you have certain type of horse you like to buy if you have the budget. But we try to buy well. We, you know, don't go crazy money. But yeah, like I say, it's not always on the page. But if they breeze well, that always helps. But you can often get a lot of 2-year-olds that are quite green, so they don't really show full potential. But if you can see that rather than just going on the clock, you know, I like to go and watch the breeze personally, and you can sort of see how they're moving and how they're breathing and how they're taking to it and their greenness and whatever, and then you just sort of file it down really, and then you know, you make a list and of half a dozen horses or whatever. Then if you can sort of pick one of them up, then happy days. A lot of the time you don't get them because you can't get near them, but like I say, it's just one of them that's, you can get lucky sometimes. You know, everyone likes what you want, so yeah.
Do you buy on spec as well?
No, I think that's quite a dangerous game to go, because obviously if you get stuck with them, you know, you still got to feed them, keep them. Yeah, the odd one, if it's not silly money, I might, but I have, yeah, I won't say I've never, but I just, I'd rather, I was always told don't buy a hotel and put your family in it. So, you know, so that's the way I work on. And but if I do buy one that I really like, I haven't got one, an owner for, and it's something that the wife might let me have a few pennies for, then I'll have a crack at one. But I remember I was at the sales last year, and that one went through for 2.4 million, and one of the agents said, "Oh, bet you wish you got a stable for that, Roger." And I went, "No, I'd like to sleep at night." So, yeah, so yeah, you know, when they go past that, there's a lot of pressure on you, and yeah, it's sort of a nice pressure, I guess, because you got a lovely, well, say, but they're not all their pedigrees doesn't always work out, and you know, they're not all superstars, are they?
Group 1's are the name of the game for a trainer, and after searching for quite a while, Clive Cox found plenty of his own. Lethal Force, Profitable, Harry Angel, and most recently Golden Horde are all top-level sprinters that have found success in that discipline. Well, the stable now go into rare uncharted territory, with Ghostwriter, a middle-distance performer in the making, heading for the classics.
He's wintered really well. Obviously, with him being unbeaten last season, you know, we were very pleased and able to give him a proper winter break, and we managed to get some good turnout into him as well before Christmas, and the wet weather appeared. But no, he's thrived over the winter. He wasn't at all weak or backwards last year. He's always been a big horse, but I think he's developed more maturely over the winter. And when he went to the races that first day, he was able to display that balance and composure that I can remember saddling him. He was like he'd been there before almost, and he just dealt with things so simply and stood up in the stalls. I think he was loaded first that day actually, and yeah, the times worked out to be pretty good, you know, and it was a very impressive win to start your career with, and Newmarket isn't always the easiest place to do that.
And then it was onto the Royal Lodge, where it looked for all money like the step up and trip was going to be the making of him, and he really galloped through the line.
He certainly did, yeah. The way that he displayed the step up to a mile being very positive, pleasing way to finish the season for him, and I'm very happy he's done well over the winter.
Our plan's quite fluid at the moment. I guess you know roughly where you're going to start out, but from there on in.
I think he's going to be guiding us in that respect. I don't think there's any doubt. He will get further than the mile, I'm sure. But in what degree or manner we'll feel our way, you know. He's entered accordingly. He's in the Dante after, but you know, I think we're very serious about the Guineas first, and that's the first and most important step. And we're quite happy. You know, he's not running a trial, but he's been away from home. Quite happy where we're at. Dave Feely rode him all last year at home, and he's very pleased with him. He's very happy indeed with him. And Richard Kingscott's had a sit on him as well. And yeah, we're all very, very happy where we're at.
So that's it for the latest edition of This Racing Live. Thank you to the three trainers, Richard Hughes, Clive Cox and Roger Teal, who opened their doors to us this week. And don't forget, you can watch both the 2,000 and 1,000 Guineas live on Racing TV this weekend. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.